Hey everybody, some Gadget Guy here with a quick camera tutorial for the Galaxy S5. Now in my Galaxy S5 review, I said that I feel you should always leave picture stabilization on. And a couple people dropped me comments and sent me private messages to say that they disagree and that especially in low light situations that can actually degrade picture quality. And so I wanted to take a look at the actual shooting styles on the Galaxy S5 because the GS5 does a few things in low light which, if you're not prepared for them, seem kind of funky, but ultimately I think they do actually provide a better image. So I'm kind of defending myself here, and I'm gonna see if I can't prove to you that we should maybe leave picture stabilization on for most shooting scenarios, including most low light situations. But as you can see, this scene is really well lit right now, so I don't have the little nighttime icon. So I'm gonna have to kill the lights and make it dark and spooky in here. Now, here we go. Ooh, spooky. And we have our little nighttime indicator right there, and we have the little hand symbol right next to the nighttime indicator to show us that we are using picture stabilization. Now, the first time you take a picture in low light on the Galaxy S5, if you have picture stabilization engaged, I don't know that most people are prepared for how long it takes to snap a picture. I've got voice control turned on, so let's see if we can take a picture now. Shoot. Okay, so you could see as it was spinning around, that's how long it takes to take a picture in indoor low light and nighttime situations with picture stabilization turned on. And well, if we contrast this, I'm gonna turn picture stabilization off so we can get a capture without it. Shoot. Shoot. And you can see the camera is much more responsive. It is much faster when you turn picture stabilization off. And that's what we're sort of used to in terms of performance. The Galaxy S5 with the zero lag shutter just snaps pictures rapid fire. It's one of the fastest performers we've got outside of the iPhone 5S. But I've heard from a number of people that turning picture stabilization on causes things to happen like, oh, well, it causes the ISO to go too high, or that it causes your images to be grainier or noisier. And I just really haven't found that to be the case. If we take a look at the photos that we just snapped, I'm gonna make sure I'm on the right photo here. Okay, so this was without stabilization, this was without stabilization, this was with stabilization. So with stabilization, it's scanning through the image for over a longer period of time, and what I think is happening, and I'm not exactly sure that this is what's happening, but what I think is happening is it's taking a full resolution short video of the scene and then using software algorithms to sort of erase any sort of hand movement. So if you've got 1 full second of video at full resolution off of the image sensor, what you could do is layer 30 individual images of the scene and use that to help cancel out noise while also arriving at a brighter exposure. And in fact, when you look at the metadata for the photos you with picture stabilization on, they don't actually report any ISO value. Whereas when you take a look at the photo without image stabilization, this is the noisier image, the image where the ISO actually has climbed up. I think just in full auto, I think it tops out at ISO 2000. It's a little grainier and it's a little noisier. Now, I don't have a huge problem with image noise, a grainier image. If the ISO climbs super high and I get a sharper, better in focus, less blurry photo out of it, then I'm all for it. And in fact, sometimes that grainy texture can kind of help lend an artistic quality to certain photos, especially in low light lighting conditions. But for most of the low light situations that we would even still try to use our smartphones for, every single time I've fired up the picture stabilization, I've ended up with a clearer photo, I've ended up with a brighter photo, and the noise reduction algorithm has much more information to work from to reduce some of the graininess without compromising the image integrity. So especially as we zoom in on these photos with picture stabilization and we start getting into all of the detail in the ship in the bottle there, you can certainly see it's getting a little smeary, it's getting a little blotchy, but image integrity is still pretty good. It's still retaining a tremendous amount of detail in that scene compared to when we switch over to the non-image stabilized photo. And while it's still retaining a similar amount of detail, it's doing so at a grainier texture, and we are actually starting to disrupt some of that fine detail in the cabling and all the little ship in the bottle pieces. And I've never really fully understood why we put so much emphasis on ISO. ISO doesn't really provide you a better or worse image. It's just another part of the tool when combined with exposure values, shutter speed, saturation, that help you arrive at the image that you see in your mind when you're trying to take a picture of something. And with picture stabilization on, what I see the Galaxy S5 doing is very similar to what I've seen SLR cameras do, like my Canon 7D. When my Canon 7D has to take a long exposure, that picture can get noisier just for having to work the image sensor harder. Even at a lower ISO, you're just cranking that sensor a little bit hotter, and a hotter sensor can be a noisier sensor. And so what actually happens on an SLR is you end up taking two photos. One photo for the actual scene that you're trying to take a capture of, and then one photo with the shutter closed, but just taking information off of the image sensor so that you can get a profile for what the noise looks like. So then it takes that image profile for the noise, applies it to your other photo, and you get a longer exposure photo with less noise. I think the Galaxy S5 is doing something similar when we turn picture stabilization on. Shoot. And so that's actually one of the longest picture stabilization pics I've ever taken. But what it's trying to do is scan through all of the information in the scene, capture a lot of information, and then use that software algorithm that it also uses for video stabilization to try and provide us a brighter image that we can show off. That it's a prettier image, it's a crisper image, and there's less noise or grain in that image. And with that, I think we can turn the lights back on. Obviously, when you're shooting in low light conditions, your smartphone is maybe one of the worst photography tools you can use. With this picture stabilization on, if your hands move around too much or if your subject is moving around too much, you're going to end up with a blurry image. But if you turn picture stabilization off, that zero lag shutter actually creates smeary and streaky images just because the screen is refreshing so fast. So the capture it pulls off of that image sensor is also going to be, I just took another picture because I said capture. I love that. But that image is also going to be smeary or streaky or blurry, but it's also probably going to end up grainier and smearier and streakier and blurrier. So if you're in a situation where the lighting is that severe, where it's that dark, you're pretty much looking at a couple different solutions. One, you take the picture and you hope for the best. Two, you throw your flash, and that's going to help abbreviate some of this picture scanning process. Or three, you just don't take the picture. When we're looking at all of these various settings to control our photography on our smartphones, on the Galaxy S5, I'm pretty confident that leaving picture stabilization on is going to provide a better image more often than not. And so I hope that clears up some of the confusion as to what's happening when you fire up the camera on the Galaxy S5. Because like I said, it's a little jarring the first time you take a picture in low light with that setting turned on. My wife is also using the Galaxy S5 and she thought her camera was broken because she was trying to take a picture of some friends in a movie theater, and of course it's super, super dark in a movie theater. Really folks, the next step for something like this is to go out and play with it. If you're rocking the Galaxy S5 or another camera that does something similar with electronic image stabilization as opposed to hardware optical image stabilization, drop me some comments below. What have your experiences been tweaking the different settings, and how do you arrive at better pictures in different lighting situations, from bright outdoor light to dark indoor or nighttime scenes? How do you tweak your camera to get the best possible shots? And also drop us some links to photos that you've taken. I'd love to see what you guys are shooting on. If you're on the Instagrams, you can definitely give me a follow. I've got a ton of different pictures from a ton of different phones on my Instagram channel, and I'm always happy to share cool content from other people producing fun photography and fun video. As always, folks, thanks so much for watching my videos, sharing my videos, subscribing to my channel, dropping me those comments. Definitely keep the conversation going. I'm having a blast chatting tech with all you fine folks out there. Hit that thumbs up button, and I will catch you all on the next video.